All right, so now we're going to be covering the basic punching combinations for the yellow belt curriculum. So we're going to start off with the jab cross, and then we'll continue from there. So first and foremost, we have to assume a good fighting stance. So just like in the jab cross video, we're making sure that we have that good fighting stance. I have my hand up on the right hemisphere, the left hand up on the left hemisphere. They are both at least cheekbone height. My elbows are resting on my ribs, my shoulders are up, my chin is tucked in, my back heel's up off of the ground. I'm making sure my hips are centralized right here. I'm not putting my head in front of my foot, and I'm also making sure that the distance and the width are correct. So from this position, we're starting back again on the jab cross because this is the basic building block for all of the other punching combinations. Now when we punch, remember we're lifting up the same side heel as the same side as we punch with. So if I'm punching with my left, I'm lifting up my left heel. When I punch with my right, I lift up and roll that right heel. Now I'm not going to over roll my hand, and I'm not going to over roll my elbow. So the idea is it comes out straight, 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 and turn, and then they exchange straight, 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 turn, and you're keeping that shoulder high. The other hand is up, so it looks like this right here. Hana, tor, hana, tor, and we're making sure that we are doing a slight step as we're moving in. So on this way, so that we can see it from the side. Heels are up, hands are up, and we're breathing. Hana, tor, hana, tor. Okay, so now the next punching combination is going to be jab, cross, cross. Okay, and the idea is that if I hit somebody really quick and fast, it's going to make them angry. They're going to want to hit you back, but when they want to hit you back, they're going to open their chest up. That's a good time to throw the cross right down the pipe. So we have that good fighting stance, and it's going to be hana. Now when I do this, and I throw that cross again, I'm pulling my hip back, and I'm throwing my hip. Now it's not my shoulder that I'm throwing. I pop my hip into every punch, and that creates power and alignment. If I throw my shoulder into the punch, I'm actually losing out on my power, and I might be overreaching my punch. I want to make sure that my hips stay centralized. So when I throw that jab, cross, cross, it looks like this again. Hana, create that pocket, to. So again, hana, good. This way, same thing. Hana, create the pocket. You see that hip pocket here, to. So again, hana, to. And you can see that I roll my knee straight forward here, so that way I have good proper alignment, or that kinetic chain for that cross. So one more time, hana. Good. Now the next punching combination is going to be a back fist to a cross. Now in this punching combination, excuse me, on this punching combination, when we do this, we're going to make sure that we're hitting with the back of the knuckles here, but not the metacarpals. And then when we throw that back fist, I don't have to pull it way back. What we're doing is we're throwing our back fist in an ellipse type motion this way, so that way it goes out far and fast, but it doesn't have to do a big across motion. This will be seen from a mile away. So the first one is going to be a back fist to the temple and then across to the solar plexus. The second one is going to be a back fist to the temple and across to the chin. So first one right here, hands are up, same thing, and it's hana, then tor. So slow, hana, I'm moving in, and I'm making sure I'm making that ellipse motion. The other hand's up. Now I drop level here. Turn your hips, tor, right here. So then from here, the second one, hana, I do the same thing. I'm making sure I'm making that ellipse motion, tor, roll through. Make sure that you have that proper kinetic chain, and then always hands back. So again, hana, tor. So then we're going this way. Same thing, hands are up, and hana, tor. Remember, low first, hana, high next, tor. And remember, move in and out. So remember, when I push with this back foot, It brings me in. When I push with that front foot, it brings me right back out. Okay, so that is combination number 3. After that is going to be the jab, cross, and hook, or the 1, 2, and 3. So with this one, we want to make sure our kinetic chain is right, and we also want to make sure that when we throw the hook, there's a lot of different styles for this, but for our beginners, we try to keep the palm facing us and the thumb up. What this does is creates a good kinetic chain from our knuckles all the way up our radius bone here this way, and it also makes sure that we're hitting with the first 2 knuckles. The first thing people do when they see somebody punching a lot of times is they'll tuck back like this, put their forehead forward, and if I have my hand with my palm facing down, then what happens is when they do that, a lot of times I'll hit with those last 2 knuckles, so the pinky and the ring finger knuckle, and you can cause a boxer's fracture. If I keep my thumb up, it's called American style hook, right here this way, then I will make sure that I'm still hitting with that index and the middle finger knuckle. I'll focus on the index knuckle to make sure that I hit with the first 2. If I focus on the first 2, I'll probably hit 1, 2, and 3 with that ring finger knuckle. So from here, the combination looks like this. Hana. Now, let me show you slower. Hana, tur, set. Now look at my shoulder. See how it's nice and high. It's hugging my cheekbone. I'm making sure that my arm is nice and straight right here. I've rolled my heel from this position, and then I reel it right back in, okay? So I'm throwing hana, slow, reel it back in, tur, reel it back in, so then I turn it this way, same thing, hana, tur, okay, so then I throw that punch again, hana, tur. So let me show you slower, hana. Now, look at the length of that punch. I don't want to punch out here because this means I have to be super, super close to the person I'm punching. I want to make sure that that length is correct so my elbow's out. Now, one basic rule on this, so you can see it from here, is that when I throw that hook, I don't want it to leave my peripheral vision. So if my hand comes way out here, I won't be able to see that hook, but the other person will be able to see it a mile away. So this is called telegraphing. Now, if I make sure that that hook does not roll too far out, then it looks just like a jab, okay? So the idea is right here, hana, to, and see how I roll it right back in, and I create a pocket again so I could jab back out. So that is combination number 4. Then from there, we have jab cross, cross hook, okay? So this is kind of in the same realm of jab cross, cross. We're gonna pop back that cross, and then we're gonna bring a hook back in with it. So it looks just like this. Hands are up, and it's jab cross, cross hook, okay? And make sure you breathe, and make sure you're rolling your hips. So remember, we've talked about lifting those heels. That helps us roll our hips. Our hips create our balance, okay? So again, from this position, hana, create that pocket, to, and then make sure you reel it back in. So reeling means that I get my stance immediately. So I don't leave this overthrown. I hit, and then I pull right back so I have a good stance. So hana, to, okay, so slow, hana, make sure your alignment's correct, create the pocket, to. So this way, so you can see the distance, hana, to. And see where my distance is at? It's at a point where I'm making sure that I can hit at a distance that's not too close. Now we can always pull it back in, and we can always make it go longer. And we make it go longer, I'll start to turn my hand so that way it actually hits with the first 2. We'll cover that in a different video. So now the next combination after that is just jab, cross, hook, uppercut. So from this position right here, our hands are up, same thing. We have to learn to throw this uppercut. Now this uppercut, people bring their elbow way out, which is a big mistake. We need to keep our elbow in close to us, and we also have to make sure that we come up on an angle and make sure that we're punching at distance again. People always like to punch straight up close. this way, and what happens is, same thing, you have to be super close. But if I create that pocket here, and I keep it nice and tight, and then I go out at a 45-degree angle, I can punch somebody at range. So the combination looks like this. Slow, hana, shh, 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 shh. Now watch that hip motion, okay? Shh, shh, shh. See where my hip motion is right here? I've created that pocket. Now I drive with the hip. Boom. Roll my knee, roll my heel, keep my elbow in, and it's like I'm launching my elbow. So if somebody could be pushing your elbow, this is a motion I want to feel right here. I'll push with this hand just for a second. So I'll show you slow. See how my shoulder came up to my chin as I threw. Boom, I'll feel that, and then I'll pull it right back down. Now when I reel it down, it's not pulling my hand back, I roll my elbow back in. This way, and it keeps my hands up. So slow, hana, and see how I'm keeping this elbow in this way as opposed to out this way. So from this position, same thing, hana, to, now slow, hana, to, okay? Now make sure that you keep that kinetic chain with a straight wrist. You don't want to bend up. This is a very common mistake that beginners make. We want to make sure that we keep this here, and somebody can be pushing down on it. And if you put it on your ribs here and just have somebody push down, you should not have your wrist collapsing, okay? Now, if I have it bent, your wrist will collapse immediately. So one more time, sideways, hana. And see how you pop your hip and then roll with it. Make sure that your shoulder comes up to your cheekbone, okay? So now, the next combination after that is just jab, cross, slip, slip. This is teaching us to get our head off line, so other people that are punching us back with straight punches, we're able to learn how to move our head and not stay as a target. So what we're doing is we're throwing that jab, cross, and we're moving our head. Now we keep our eyes forward, so we throw a jab cross again. Now from here, I just threw my right, I'm going to slip to my right. So I use my hip and push offline. So it brings my left shoulder in, my head comes offline. Then from here, I'm going to do the same thing to this side. And when I go on to this side, especially to my left, that means if we're standing in a closed stance and the person's throwing across, they tend to loop it a little bit. I want to make this side a little bit bigger, so I'll go to this side right here. Now my hands will tend to shift when I do this, and that's totally fine. You can keep them right here, or you can let them shift. I tend to let my hands shift, but make sure it's small motion to the right, big motion to the left. Use your hips. Try not to use your shoulders too much. People overuse their shoulders, and they don't use the balance of their hips. So again, it's right here. Hana. And see how we still breathe. Two. Okay, slow. Hana. So it's like somebody's trying to touch you. So when they're trying to touch me here, my forehead, I make sure that it hits my shoulder. Make sure it hits my shoulder. Now if I'm hitting a bag, what I'll do is I'll punch, and I'll look to one side of the bag, look to the other side of the bag. So it's like I'll look around the bag, look around the bag. So from this side, so you can see, same thing. It's hana. To. Now watch my heels. Hana. Heel lifts, heel lifts. This creates the motion of your hips doing the work as opposed to trying to do this with your shoulders. When you do it with your shoulders, you take yourself off balance. Anytime we're striking, we're going to make sure one of the biggest things we're doing is keeping balance with our body. So again, slowly, it's hana. And you see, it's heel, heel, and make sure that you get your head off line just enough. And what that does is it makes sure that we're not getting hit, but you have to practice with a partner. Throwing it just in the air is not enough. You will know how far you have to move with the partner. It should be just missing you, barely clipping your ear, just missing you, barely clipping your ear. It should not be missing you by a mile, and obviously you should not be taking the hit. So those are the basic punching combinations for the yellow belt curriculum. Thank you very much.